There are moments in life when we feel drained, uncertain, and completely disconnected from the strength we once thought we had. The world has a way of exhausting us through disappointment, betrayal, waiting seasons, and invisible battles that no one else sees. And in those quiet moments of weariness, we begin to wonder if we've lost the fire, the passion, the courage we used to carry. But the truth is, you haven't lost your strength. You've just forgotten where it lives. And while you may have forgotten, God has not. God sees the strength you forgot you had. The strength that kept you going when everyone else would have given up. The strength that endured the storm, cried in silence, and still chose to show up when it was hardest. That strength is not gone. It's tucked within your soul, waiting to rise again. Because the power that carried you this far was never just your own. It was guided, guarded, and fueled by something divine, something unbreakable. Your spirit has scars, yes, but those scars are signs that you fought spiritual battles and survived. You weren't weak. You were being refined. You were being prepared. And now, in this very moment, God is reminding you, you are still chosen, still capable, still powerful, still called. This is not the end of your strength. It's the rebirth of it. And what's coming next requires you to remember what heaven has always known, that you were made for more, and you still have more to give. Your light may feel dim right now, but the flame is not out. God sees it. God sees you. And He's about to help you see it too. Sometimes, when life feels like it's closing in and the pressure becomes too much to carry, it's easy to believe we've run out of strength. The days blur into nights, and we move through time on autopilot, barely holding ourselves together. But what we often don't realize in those moments is that true strength is not loud. It's not always bold or outwardly noticeable. Sometimes the strongest parts of us are hidden beneath the surface, in the quiet decisions we make to keep going, to keep believing, to keep holding on, even when everything within us is tired. And this is the strength God sees clearly when we have forgotten it exists. You are stronger in spirit than your current emotions allow you to believe. That means the strength you're searching for hasn't left you. It's just buried under layers of fear, doubt, and exhaustion. It's still there, living in the same heart that survived the last storm, the same mind that overcame what was meant to break it, and the same soul that chose faith over fear again and again. God sees this strength, even when you don't. He sees past your tears, past your frustration, past your tired body and your restless mind, and He sees the warrior He created. Often, we define strength by how well we perform, how much we can carry, or how visible our progress is. But in God's eyes, strength looks different. It's in the moment you get out of bed when depression tells you not to. It's in the moment you forgive when it hurts to do so. It's in your silent prayers, your secret sacrifices, your unseen endurance. Every small act of faith you've made when it would have been easier to give up, that's the strength God celebrates. The world may not recognize that kind of strength, and even you might overlook it, but heaven never does. That inner resilience, that quiet trust, that decision to show up again and again, God sees it. And He's never disappointed in you for feeling weak. Instead, He draws near to you in those moments to remind you that strength is not something you lost. It's something you're rediscovering, and with His help, you will rise again, stronger, softer, and more certain of who you are than ever before. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where the silence of life can feel deafening. You look around and no one seems to notice the battles you're fighting internally. It's not because you haven't tried to explain. It's because sometimes the weight you carry is not meant to be understood by everyone. And in those moments when isolation sets in, you might begin to believe that you're alone, that no one sees what you're going through. But the truth is, God sees everything. He sees the moments when you want to scream but stay silent. He sees the nights when tears stain your pillow and you whisper, "I can't do this anymore." He sees the way you keep showing up, despite the pain, the doubt, and the weariness. This divine observation isn't passive. God doesn't just look at you and keep walking. No, He watches over you with the intensity and care of a loving Creator who placed His light inside you. He watches over you because He knows what He planted within you. Even when you've forgotten your worth, your calling, your capacity, He hasn't. And every time you rise again after falling, even if it's a slow, trembling rise, He is right there holding you steady. In the seasons when you felt like nothing is working, when your prayers feel unanswered and your spirit feels dry, that is not abandonment. That is God giving you space to discover the depth of your endurance. That is Him allowing your faith to become a fire that cannot be put out by temporary disappointment. Because if you could see what He sees, you wouldn't doubt yourself so easily. You wouldn't call yourself weak. You wouldn't call yourself broken. You would understand that you are being refined, not rejected. There is a kind of strength that only emerges through pressure. Diamonds don't form in comfort. Warriors aren't made in easy times. And chosen ones, those truly called for divine purpose, are sculpted in silence, in waiting, in being misunderstood, in being overlooked. Why? Because the strength you are gaining in those seasons is not the kind that flashes for applause. It's the kind that endures long battles, carries heavy burdens, and still loves, still prays, still serves when no one is watching. God sees all the moments that no one else claps for. He sees your discipline, your patience, your restraint, your kindness, your humility. He knows how much strength it takes to hold your tongue when you're angry. He knows how much faith it takes to keep walking when the path is dark. And while others may see your stillness as stagnation, God sees it as preparation. He knows the weight of your heart, the depth of your thoughts, and the magnitude of your potential. And He is guarding that. He's guarding you, not from struggle, but from collapse. Because while you might think you're at your breaking point, God knows you're at your building point. You're not being buried, you're being planted. And what comes from that soil, that pressure, that silence, will be stronger, more beautiful, and more powerful than you ever imagined. There are seasons in a chosen one's life when everything seems to fall apart all at once. The people you once trusted vanish. The path ahead becomes clouded. The certainty you once carried begins to shake under the pressure of delay, rejection, and exhaustion. And yet, deep in your soul, there remains a flicker, a quiet inner knowing that something greater is still ahead. It's this flicker, however small, that God never overlooks. Because even when you feel like giving up, He remembers the strength He placed inside you before you were ever aware of your calling. The strength you forgot you had was never lost. It was simply buried under the noise of life, under trauma, under disappointment, under years of being told you're not enough, not worthy, not capable. But God sees beyond the surface. He sees the version of you that's been molded through every trial. He sees the fire you've walked through and the wisdom it has given you. And just because you've forgotten how powerful you really are, doesn't mean that power has left you. It's still there, it's always been there. God is now just bringing it back to the surface. Oftentimes, when a chosen one feels the weakest, It's a sign that their inner transformation is reaching its most critical point. Strength doesn't always feel like adrenaline and boldness. Sometimes strength feels like getting out of bed when the world feels heavy. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over retaliation. Sometimes it's the decision to keep praying even when you hear no response. These quiet, sacred acts of endurance are not missed by God. In fact, He treasures them because He knows it's in these unseen moments that real strength is built. God sees the roots you've grown underground while no one was watching. Others may see the delay, the stillness, the pause, but God sees the foundation. He knows that before anything can rise tall, it must first go deep. And so, during the times when you feel hidden, when your progress feels slow, remember that you are not being punished. You are being strengthened for something higher. You are being trusted with the kind of preparation that doesn't impress crowds, but pleases heaven. The reason many chosen ones forget their strength is because they compare their journey with others. But your walk was never meant to be common. You weren't created to follow the crowd. You were created to carry light in the dark. That means your journey will often be misunderstood, your silence misjudged, your kindness mistaken for weakness. But God sees the intention behind it all. He sees the hours you spend healing, the energy you use to encourage others when your own heart feels weary, the love you give even when your tank feels empty. And in His divine wisdom, He sends quiet confirmations, a random message of hope, a divine encounter, a breakthrough at the very last second. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that He sees you, that He hasn't forgotten, that the strength you think you've lost is simply evolving into something more refined, more rooted, more unshakable. When the enemy tries to wear you down with confusion or fear, God responds not with noise, but with stillness. It's in that stillness you begin to realize you are not who you used to be. You've grown, you've survived, you've overcome things that would have destroyed the old version of you. And if you look closely, you'll begin to see glimpses of that forgotten strength returning. This time, stronger, quieter, and far more powerful than ever before. You may not feel like a warrior every day, but heaven sees you as one. And every time you take a breath and choose to believe again, despite what you've been through, you are honoring that strength God never stopped seeing in you. There are times when your soul feels weary and the world feels like too much to carry. In those moments, you may wonder if you're truly equipped to continue the journey God set before you. You may even begin to doubt your purpose, your value, and your ability to rise. But what you forget is this: God's strength within you doesn't fade when life gets heavy. It becomes more active, more alive, more radiant, especially when you're too tired to see it. Often, strength doesn't appear as boldness or confidence. It reveals itself in resilience. In your decision to keep walking, even when every step feels uncertain. It shows up when you choose peace over chaos, truth over comfort, and love over resentment. You may not realize it, but every time you refuse to break under the pressure, you are showing the strength God sees in you daily. And even when you can't see it, heaven can. The strength you carry isn't something you manufactured on your own. It was placed in you by God long before you were aware of it. It was born in silence, built in trials, and revealed in the moments you didn't give up. You didn't just learn how to survive, you learned how to carry light through darkness. You learned how to comfort others while healing yourself. And most importantly, you learned how to trust in God's plan, even when you didn't understand it. You may not have received applause for your strength, but God witnessed every moment. He saw every time you cried but kept praying, every moment you gave when you were exhausted, every time you showed up for others when no one showed up for you. Those moments are the hidden victories of a chosen one, and they are not forgotten. Sometimes, the hardest part of walking in your calling is continuing to show up without results, recognition, or reassurance. But know this: what is unseen on earth is never overlooked in heaven. God has been collecting every act of obedience, every silent prayer, every tear that fell when no one was watching, and in His time, He will restore what you've poured out, not just with blessings, but with a deeper awareness of the power and beauty within you. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are not failing. You are simply being refined, strengthened, and elevated, step by step, breath by breath, into the person God always knew you would become. There are seasons in life when you look at yourself and wonder where your strength has gone. The fire you once carried feels like embers. Your motivation fades, and the weight of the journey begins to press down on your shoulders. You may ask yourself, have I lost what made me strong? But the truth is, the strength you think you've lost is not gone. It's simply resting, buried beneath layers of weariness and waiting for the right moment to rise again. And God sees it all. He sees the strength you've forgotten you had. You were not created to collapse under the pressure. You were created to endure it, grow through it, and come out of it transformed. Every experience, every trial, every heartbreak has built a reservoir of strength inside of you. Even when you don't feel powerful, you're still carrying the echoes of everything you've overcome. The strength is not always loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply whispers, "Get up and try again." And God honors that whisper. What you may not realize is that you've already walked through storms that were designed to break you. Yet here you are, still standing. That is not weakness. That is divine endurance. The world may never know the weight you carried in silence, but heaven does. God has been with you in every private battle, and He never questioned your strength, because He knows what He placed inside you. He knows. The calling on your life requires a strength that isn't built in comfort. It's built in the valley, in the quiet, in the moments no one applauds. There is a sacred power in being tested and still choosing love. There is a holy fire in walking through disappointment and still choosing hope. And there is undeniable strength in being a chosen one who continues to walk with grace even when the path is dark. That's the kind of strength God put in you, not temporary, not circumstantial, but eternal. You're closer to your next breakthrough than you realize. And that strength you think is gone is about to be awakened. Sometimes God hides your own strength from you until the moment you need it most. That's why, when you're at your lowest, something inside still refuses to give up. That's not you. It's the Spirit of God rising within you. It's the quiet force that says, you were made for more. You're not done yet. And in that moment when you think all is lost, God reminds you that your story is still unfolding, your purpose is still alive, and your strength is still intact. So if you're tired, rest, but don't quit. If you're discouraged, pause, but don't disconnect from your faith. Because the strength you forgot you had is still there, pulsing with divine energy, waiting for your next yes. You are stronger than you think, and God sees it clearly, constantly, and completely. Even when you've lost sight of your own light, God never does. He sees it flickering beneath the surface, buried beneath the burdens, the disappointments, and the silent battles. He sees the strength you've dismissed, the resilience you've underestimated, and the divine potential that still lives in your spirit. When the world grows dim and your confidence fades, remember this: your strength is not gone. It is merely hidden, waiting to be called upon at the right time. There is no weakness in feeling weary. Chosen ones often carry more than most because their path is heavier, deeper, and more sacred. You've endured storms that others couldn't survive, walked through pain that no one witnessed, and still you continued. That persistence, that quiet refusal to give up, is the evidence of divine strength flowing through you. God doesn't just see your effort, He honors it. Every tear, every moment you wanted to give up but didn't, is known in heaven. Nothing is wasted. Many times, life will try to convince you that you are broken or unworthy. But what life forgets is who called you. What the pain forgets is who appointed you. And what the struggle forgets is who lives within you. You were chosen not because you were the strongest on your own, but because God's strength would be made perfect in you. He never left you even when you couldn't feel Him. He was the quiet calm in the chaos, the whisper in the silence, the strength in your surrender. The world may never fully understand your journey, but God does, and more than understanding, He walks with you in it. Every valley you've walked through was preparing you for greater purpose. Every delay was divine protection, and every closed door was a redirection, not a rejection. You are still in the middle of your becoming. The strength you forgot isn't just returning, it's awakening. It's rising. It's about to lead you into a season you were always meant to walk in. So breathe again. Stand again. Believe again. Not in your own power alone, but in the God who never took His eyes off you. You are stronger than you feel, closer than you know, and more divinely equipped than you've ever realized. The battle was never meant to define you. It was meant to reveal you. And now that strength that once felt lost is stepping forward, ready to carry you into your destiny. Thank you for holding on. Thank you for continuing to walk the path even when your legs were shaking. And thank you for being a living reminder that divine strength is real, powerful, and alive inside the chosen. Your story isn't over. It's only just beginning.